Yo, thanks for tuning in. In this video, I'm gonna turn everything upside down. It's gonna be about Bitcoin, but it don't really matter if you're into that shit or not. This will be important to you no matter what. I think personally it's the most important video that I've done on this channel. I'm gonna get into the foreign exchange market, compound interest, a few of my heroes. I'm gonna look at the charts, I'm gonna turn it upside down and look at it a little different. I'm even going to be taking notes. I'm going to start from January 2009 until, when was it? March 2010, because in that period Bitcoin was worthless in terms of US dollars, right? But anyone could mine at on a home PC, right? But and I want to include some details on 2010, right? Especially these starting years, right? And 2011, but all the way up. Let's make it 2022, right? Let's look into the future a little bit, but first we got to look at the period that everyone's talking about. Hopefully you're getting this on the screen and the audio is good. These are the charts for 2018, right, that everyone's focusing on, and what I think is wrong is all these technical analysis, blah 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 blah, daily blah blah blah. Everyone looks at the charts, and what they do is they look on the top of the charts. I never look at the top of the charts. What I found most important is the bottom of the charts. That's where I look, and I want to talk to you about it because let's look at the top of the charts, right? In 2018, around Christmas, Bitcoin peaked. Some say it got close to 20,000 for a very short period. On average, for a few weeks, I guess the price was around 16,000. And you see the trend from the top candles here. These are weekly candles. It's gone down. We're in August now, the 24th, and the price around 6,400. It's kind of stalled for a long time. What you notice is, though, since June, the lows have been higher lows, right? We've seen higher and higher lows with lower and lower highs. So the price is consolidating around this area, blah blah blah. But I've drawn a line aligned with the bottom here, right, where we had a low of 5.7 and we have a low this week of 6,100, something like that. And looking at these past 10-11 months, we see the downtrend, but we have a slight uptrend when we align it from June till October, right? Let me zoom out because we got data from 2012, right? Hopefully you can see this on the chart, the cross in the bottom left, where we had a price in 2012 go for a few dollars to $10, right? And I'm going to talk about this, but you see my line, the actual line that I drew based on the last 10-month data, right? So when we zoom in on 2014 with this same line, you'll notice how this looks. This is the same straight up line based on that we're looking at on the data from 2014, right? And it looks like it goes straight up, right? Anyways, let's get on with the notes, because this was just one way to look at data. And we have a low volume. We got custody coming on the New York Stock Exchange, and we got future options backed by Bitcoin as new products coming out. And you got to remember, the stock exchange is the biggest in the world, and they are offering this now as custodians, meaning that institutional investors can come in trusting that the funds are insured and they're actually backed up by Bitcoin. So that's what you want if you invest hundreds of millions, which all these pension funds and shit that are looking for solutions to get out of what I guess is a over property market, right? And the crash of the dollar and security in general, right? I think. Anyways, these are just tools coming on the market right now. As if you look at this screen, this is going to be happening this year, 2018. We're going to see more of these products. So this is more of a fundamental kind of news thing, right? And you think, oh my God, the price. You got to remember, okay, let's bring up the notes, because let's put everything in perspective, right? The Forex market is trillions of dollars, like between 5-10 trillion dollars a day being traded just in international currency. The whole cryptocurrency market is a few $100 billion. Remember, 1 trillion is 1,000 billions, right? So that just put things in perspective, how many thousands of times Bitcoin can grow if it was just to take a small percentage of this market. But don't remember, we got to look at what is compound interest, right? It's the addition of interest to principal sum, right? So there's added more interest every year because the principal sum rises, right? There's added interest that's added to the sum, and then the interest is calculated again based on the principal sum, right? So it just becomes more and more and more. So even the tiniest amount of compound interest will end up being a ridiculous amount. And I'm just going to give you some history where I was back in 2009, because in 2009, me personally, I had just had a completely successful run for several years of programming, doing software, and I think by 2010, 11, that was probably when I started looking into what is, getting used to handling money, really, I guess. And you suddenly realize how much tax you're paying and how much bills and all this shit, right? And in terms of making an hourly wage, right, you really realize no matter how much you're making per hour, it's still not like a compound interest, right? Thus I got into software licensing where you sell copies, but I ended, my product had a good run, but business definitely went down and competition came on the market, and keep educating yourself and blah blah blah. So I started becoming interested in compound interest compared to work hours, right? And this is just not as a serious move, just studying it, right? And I was introduced to Max Kaiser. Maybe you'll see him on the screen here. He does a show on RT, and I remember he talked about compound interest. That was probably my first introduction slowly to Bitcoin. By the way, he has an amazing show, I think, on RT with his wife. I think it's his wife, Stacy Herbert, right? And I mean, they've been in the game for so many years. Before Bitcoin and all of that, he wrote like a kind of Hollywood exchange market, so the same kind of thing as a stock exchange, right? And he talked about money for maybe 20 years. Very, very interesting. You can watch these guys on RT and their Twitter and all of that. These are probably on long term my favorite news people. They really are, because it is all about the money. And Max Kaiser, he's brought so much good. But I don't want to be dick riding anymore in this video. Let's get the notes up, because we got to get through all these years just to put it in perspective, how much Bitcoin has really grown and how much more it can grow. Let me copy paste all the years here, right? We got to get all the way to 2022. So we got 12, right? Okay, let's do this. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then we got 20, am I right? Okay, let's do it. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh my god, this is gonna be a long video, boys. I should have done this video yearly. I could have done it a lot quicker, but this is, like I said, for me this is the most important video. I guess this is now, right? 2018, and then we got the predictions here, right? Can we split this up in periods, right? Was this my idea? Here we have a peak, right? Like a Fibonacci number, 7 years in a row. No, we can't do that. We got, anyways. Let's look at the numbers, right? Because this was all excited for these people, right? There's a few new people. You can look at who holds the most Bitcoin, right? I think that would be a Google search one could do, right? Early Bitcoin adopters. Oh, this weren't it. Oh, this is an interesting story. Dave Kleinman, you might want to look into that. Anyways, there's a few early adopters of Bitcoin. What were we talking about back then here that had fun, right? So let me just see if I can make sure we have it on the screen and remember this. In 2010, I think all can agree that the price kind of started off at 3% of a dollar, right? 0.003 dollars for one Bitcoin, right? Around of and this was in March, right? This was March 2010, and then already in May 2010 we had the price already go up about 260% to about 10 cent, right? 1 cent. Oh my word. Well, that's great. Me fiddling with the keyboard, right? So that's about 260%, something like that, right? Very close since March, right? And so that's a rise just in 2 months of 260%. I'm not going to include this much detail in every year. I just want to give you an idea how much happened in this beginning of Bitcoin, because everyone seems to be focusing on this period right here, right? And today we have a price of around 6,400. I've talked about this line, and we're doing the notes here, right? So a lot of stuff happened, right? Within 2 months the price went up 260%, right? And then if we continue another 2 months into July, right? July 2010, the price had already gone up to 8 cents, right? Which is about a 700% rise since May, right? And actually there was periods, and this is why I want to include all this info about this first time in these first month where Bitcoin was traded in dollars, right? Because we had a period, there was a period, you know, over a 5-day period in 2010, the price of Bitcoin grew 900%, just in a matter of 5 days, right? On its way to 8 cent, right? For one fucking Bitcoin, right? So this is just to give you some perspective. So if we do that whole thing, because I'm gonna, the final price for 2011, and this is what you, it's just, this video is gonna get crazy, right? I think, because in 2011, just half a year later, right, we had a price of around 30 cent for one Bitcoin, right? So if we take that and look at the price that we have in March, which was the first time Bitcoin was ever traded in dollars, right? March 2010, for 3% of a dollar, right? $0.003, right? And then we got 30 cent in 2011, right? You got to realize that that is a rise in 1 year, not even 1 year, right? Of 10,000%. Think about that. 2011, the starting price was on average around 30 cent. That's a 10,000% rise in less than a year from the period March here. So let's continue to 2012, right? In 2012, we already had a price of $5. And if we look at the price in 2011 of 30 cents, from that period, that's a rise of about 1,600% rise since 2011, right? So this is just to put things in perspective, because everyone is focusing on this period. So we got to remember, right now we're looking at the first years. We're going to take it all the way up to 2022. We're going to think about compounded interest. I'm going to get into that a little bit more, and then we're going to get into the forex market, which the foreign exchange, how much is really traded there, why it's traded, you know, how much space of growth is really left, how much the price can really go up in the next 2, 4, 6, 5, 10 years. You got to think long term, and this is going to make a lot more sense once we continue this video. Let's look at the price for 2013. We had the price at $13, right? So I could just copy this, right? So that's a rise of about 85%, right? Since 2012. Right, 85% rise since 2012, and in 2014 we had the price go up to a monstrous, on average, you know, it was recorded at 1200, I think, some places. I'm just gonna say 950, right? Because I know trades went through at that price, right? But still, since 2013, that's an incredible rise of around, remember these are just rough numbers, and please correct me if I've made mistakes, but this should be a rise of around 7,260% since 2013, right? Incredible. And then we had the fall, right? We had the fall for a couple of years in 2015. And I tell you why, and this is where, let's go back to that, because I draw this line based on the data you see here from June till October this year, the higher lows that we've had, right? And then we have the line just continuing down. And let's look at this line at the period we are on the notes, right? I'm going back in history, and we're now at 2014, where we had this price that I've just noted it down at 950, right? But you clearly see on the chart it nearly reached 1200 for a couple of weeks, right? But I think an average 950 can be agreed on. It was traded over even a few months, the price both in November, December, and a few times in January reached over 1,000, right? But I've noted it as 950, right, which was a rise of 7,260% since 2013, right? And here we're looking at the line, this line going, more than 45 degrees up on this chart, right? This is the line based on the last couple of months data, right? So let's continue writing up the prices here, because now prices go down. This is the only period where this has happened, and it was very hard for a lot of people. And in 2015 it was very abrupt, really, from 2014's high to 2015, and it went lower, it went higher, but 2015 opened at around 266, right, around that price, which was a fall of, and I say only because you got to look at the incredible history from 0 to now 260, right? But we have a fall of around 72% since 2014, right? But still incredible rise since 2013 and since 2011, right? That's just to put things in perspective for you guys here. So this went on for quite a while, right? Then in 2016 we already see a rise, right? 2016 opened up at a price of 430, around that price, right? Which was a rise of about 230% since 2015. Remember, this is just from on a year-to-year basis that I calculate the percentage, right? Sorry, what am I doing? 62%, right? So this was very hard. This period here, well, I think this is how we got to divide the periods, right? From 2009 till 2014, right? Really, it was the hellish period started in 2014, right at this moment, right? So I guess we can split it up in periods already, right? This is like a 4-year period, a 4-year period, right? Filled with optimism. This period was purely filled with optimism. We had this new technology, and all of a sudden, while this was happening, let's bring up the charts here. Back in 2014, while all this was happening in 2014, right? That really don't, when you think about how much chit chatter there was about this event in 2013, right, where it really happened from October, the period we're in now, 5 years later, right? But it just happened in a short period, but relative to the line that we have now that we're not happy with, it looks very correlated, right? Back then we would be happy with this line that we got now, right? Amazingly happy, but am I losing track here? I just wanted to look at this period in correlation with this, right? Because before that we have this whole period 2009 to 2014, which is this period, right? It probably won't show us to 2009, but because this is Bitstamp, right? But from 2012 all up until 2015, right? So this is the first period of just pure euphoria, right? Let me bring it on the screen for you guys, right? 2009 to 2014, right? And especially in 2013, in this period 2013 to 14, we had a rise in price of 7,060%, about that, right? Which is what we're seeing on the chart here. This little cross down here is the line that we have now from the lower lows of the last 6 months. Anyways, what happened was that all of a sudden people were using Bitcoin, right? All of a sudden in 2013 people started to experiment and use and add them to website, and what they realized very quickly was, and let's just look at the charts, how quickly, right? About this quickly, right? This is the line from our lower lows now, and as you see, as we look, this is what people compare it to. A lot of analysts compare the period we have now from 2018 to now 2018 October with the period of 2014, right, where we had the crash, right? And we can look at the data. Let's bring up the data. Let's just follow the chart and bring up the data. We're now looking at 2014, and then we got the crash, right? And look at it. It was just 72%, right? It was just 72%, right? It weren't really as smooth as what's going on now, and I just chose to say 260 on average because that's kind of average low, right? It did for a short period hit the 150 something. See, I lost track here, you see. But at one point back in 2014, or actually in 15, right? That was the lowest point. A whole year after, at just a few hours, it was traded for $150, right? I think only a very few people caught it at that price, so I put down 2015, the opening price at 260, right, which is a fall of 62%. And then already in 2016 we have a rise, and then it just goes nuts again. Bitcoin just goes nuts again, right? In 2017, right, we have a price of 1,000. And I think, you know, to be honest, this period, from where, you know, we're talking about right here in 2014, this was the, like, let's put the note in here. Man, I just changed to a Thai keyboard and I'm having a hard time remembering where the digits are. Yo. So you could call this first major crash, right? It's not a crash, but in the mainstream media, right? News, right? That's, but as you clearly can see, maybe we should put this, because this was what was going on in this whole period. Yeah, this whole period, right? This whole period was just about this first major crash in Bitcoin, right? First major crash in Bitcoin, according to mainstream news, right? I think we can agree to that. Hopefully you're getting this on the screen. So anyone who was in Bitcoin throughout this whole period, of course, except the people who got in on that short, tiny few months in 2000, late 2013 and early 14, right? Everyone else knows which way Bitcoin is going, right? But for 3 years, really, close to 3 years, this was what's going on in the media, right? And it's because the scaling solution, right? This is what happened. People instantly became aware very quickly in 2014 that Bitcoin couldn't scale, and up until 2017, where we had a price of 1,000, right? Let me just get moving on this chart here, right? Which was a rise of about 230% since 2016. Around this time, solutions start coming to the table. Solutions in scaling, right? And this is also the altcoin era. I think we could do damn it, this keyboard. AKA the altcoin era. I don't know how to spell era. Era? Forgive me if the spelling is wrong, right? So this period from 2014 to 2016-17, I would call the altcoin era, right? And the whole crash, which really weren't a crash, it was just because we literally, I mean, that should be the headline, really. Solution in scaling needed, right? To scaling issues needed, right? Bigly, because nothing was working, right? You get all excited about Bitcoin, you know, these people knew already, right? And the people who got in here early that started using it, they kind of realized in 2014 that solution to scaling issue needed, right? And I think a lot of non-technical people, they were like, fucking hell, they realized they were holding Bitcoin that literally couldn't be used, right? This was worthless shit. But what they don't realize, forgot to consider, was that it's technology, right? It's just software, right? And people who've been hodling since 2014, who didn't sell in 2014, are the people that knew and realized what software is. Software is something you update and change, right? And when you have a big community and it's open source, it's pretty hard to fuck things up. You know, when there's a white paper like Satoshi released in January 2009, combining not new technology from 2009, but old, well-tested technology since before the internet even. These are not, nothing's been invented with Bitcoin. It's encryption and way of sending and distributing data. These handful of technologies have been combined into creating Bitcoin, right? Well-tested technology. So anyone that knows its software knows that, you know, having a solution to scaling issue needed is not a reason to leave Bitcoin. Is 2014. I think everyone is frustrated that we had a period of 14 and 15 and 16 being all about this scaling issue, right? But I think we could say, I probably got it a little off, doesn't matter, it's just let's put another headline. I'm gonna do it like this. Scaling solution found, right? In 2000, I would say scaling solution was found right here, in January 2009, because I'm a software developer, right? And when I read the white paper like Satoshi, it's it's not about the scaling for that first step, because it's software, right? That's a tiny problem compared to all the problems that have been solved in regards to permissionless money, decentralized money, that freedom you have in voluntary payments, right? And ownership of funds that cannot be manipulated. So anyone who knew that it was software did not worry about this need for the scaling solution. But I must admit, you know, the reality of it taking this many years, right? This is what it is to develop software. Look at history, you know, the perfect mobile phone. You know, you gotta look back at the first mobile phones. They were like what the army used to carry. Literally, you'd have a fucking suitcase. If you're a businessman, if you were just a farmer, you just had a metal box, but a fucking box with a cord to what is it even called, right? A handle that you hold against your face with microphones and shit, right? You weigh like kilos and kilos with probably shitty battery life and worthless connection, right? If you know about the first, was it NTM mobile phones before GSM and even early GSM, you know, all conversations would be about, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Right? No, I can't fucking hear you. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It was really just to confirm that I'm here, I'm able to make a call. It must mean I'm in the car. Can you hear me? Honestly, ask anyone who had the first mobile phones that this was just reality, and you had a map where the phone would work, and outside this map, when you went off trail, the phone didn't work, right? So, but anyone who knew about technology and software knew that scaling is nothing. This is new tech. So anyone who got into this early, anything called wireless, are billionaires today, right? But they were probably like this, pretty surprised that things take time. Yes, all you need to do is screw up these boxes and put this chip in all these little boxes, but it's fucking gonna take 20 years, right? But there's a lot of reasons why Bitcoin domination is not gonna take 20 years, because we don't need infrastructure. It's already there. It's for the first time where it's literally not hardware, it's only software. Everything else is ready. This was not the case for internet and software and everything else that we had in the history of human race. So this can happen at lightning fucking speed, boys. And we are at 2018 now, and in 2018 I'm gonna put the price, you know, we had people trade at around 20,000, but like I said, I'm gonna put it at 16,000, right? Which still is a rise compared to 2017 of around 1500% rise since 2017, right? And we could, let's just put the, so we have October now, right? 2018, right? Or let's just put that down here, right? If you could say we had two big rises, right? If we look at a pattern, right? I hope this makes sense on the screen. I'm trying to put this into periods, right? We see several things here, right? How will I make this nicer for the eye? Maybe like this. Right, so this is the first crash, right? But let's look at something else. We had huge rise in 2014, right? But it weren't the biggest. The biggest rise was in 2011, right? 10,000% in 2011. And then we had a 7,000% 3 years later in 2014, right? And here we see 1, 2, 3, and we have a rise again about 1500%, right? So it's not 10, it's 7, right? It's not 7, it's 15, right? Of course, now if we just repeat that pattern and say, well, after this huge bump back in 2011, the price did not go back, right? It continues to rise. We had 10,000%, then we had 1,685, then 7,000, right? It's just one big rise. This was the only huge crash we had, right? The first major crash, 72%, was just 72%, right? But now we had 2019. Currently, the price is 6,500, right? Let's say the pattern continues, right? Let's try to continue some patterns, because that's what I think is interesting. We have the pattern of huge rises, right? That's the pattern here, 10,000, 7,000, and 1,500, right? And then, because this is what a lot of people want to do, they want to compare this crash in 2014 from 1,000 to 150 with the current crash that we're in now, 2018, from, right, very different fundamentals. We do have the scaling solution done, boys. The scaling solution is found. We have side chains, we have Lightning Network, and we have custody solutions that are insured, meaning that institutional investors legally and securely can put funds in Bitcoin, which weren't the case at all. It's never been the case. And here this was terrible. 2014, this was fucking like scaling solution needed. Like, did Bitcoin even work, right? Does Bitcoin even work, right? If you don't know about software, then people would doubt that, right? If you know about software, you know, yes, because you know, this idea that came out in 2009, nobody's going to let go, best believe, because this is the solution, right? Bingo, bingo. So that's just going to keep pushing on, and it can, you know, it can do whatever. The whole solution is very simple. Blockchain. It's the way it hashes data into a new block, and then you can ensure that content of each block can't be copied. It's really the solution to carry huge amount of data in small amounts of data, and verifying that that exact data from last week is still in there. Something like that. Blah blah blah. You don't need to understand that. All the experts has already confirmed this. But anyways, scaling solution is found, right? And then you just might go, well, if scaling solution is found, why did the Bitcoin crash? Because we're going to put that on here now, right? Let's just, because what is going to happen now? I think there's a bigger chance that we're going to see a rise in price right now. I don't, you know, let's look at the charts right now. Right now, right? The price could go either way, right? And there is definitely a chance that we could go down. And I want to just continue the pattern from 2014. So let's say we go down 72% like we did in 2015, right? When we went from 950 to 260. If we do that, we're going to hit 4,500. And like I said, I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're actually going to go up for the rest of this year, because we have these custody solutions come out on the New York Stock Exchange. We have futures being backed by Bitcoin and not cash, which meaning more and more are going to have to hold Bitcoin. I don't think there's enough weak hands to stall the price this long, and definitely not fall. It could happen. If it does fall to this price, it will be very shortly, boys. Best believe that if you will not be able to catch it at this price, because everyone's too slow when it comes to investing. Hell, I don't even invest. I just bought some Bitcoin because Mr. Max Kaiser, let's just bring him up, he fucking introduced me to compound interest, and I found out that Bitcoin was really the only way. You know, if you weren't born around fucking Second World War, where new banking wizardry was introduced and property was the only way, then you know property is fucking overvalued, and there will be no compound interest there to be found for new investors. That's for fucking sure. We got no sound money. Stocks are all already totally fucking manipulated, right? But let's continue the pattern. Let's just take the pattern from 2015 to 18, right? 4 years of pattern, and continue that now from 19 to 22, right? And you're thinking, oh my god, are we gonna hit 4,500? Yeah, maybe. If we take the absolute worst Bitcoin has ever done, which was based on literally the fact, you got to remember, this fall of 72% was based on that if you weren't an actual expert in software, the fact said that Bitcoin don't even work. It's not made for scaling. So why do you even have any, right? The only reason to keep them is because you know that future updates are coming, right? Which they have, and it's working now. Now it's just got to be integrated, really, and proven, right? You want to see proof, right? So you want to have these first, instead of having like anarchists and cryptographers and anonymous people getting involved. Now for 2019, people want to see institutional investors, and institutional investors are gonna get in, boys. They're already way ready with all kinds of wizardry and computers, but they know that they want to wait to get weak hands out, right? So this is just going to be stalled as long as possible. I don't think it's going to be long. In fact, I think it's right around the corner that we're going to go up in price. But let's just do this hypothesis. Is that what it's called? Prediction based on the data from 2015 to 18, right? So if 2015, the biggest crash we ever had, is continuing here in this period 18 to 19 of a 72, then we're going to start 19 with a price of 4,500, which means that's going to be the all-time low, right, for the whole year, for the whole period of a year. But then what happened in already a year after, in 2016, we had a 62% rise, right? And if that continues, and this is a little boring, right, but it makes a lot of sense in many ways, right? So that's why I just wanted to put it up like this. And remember, you got to remember, we always got to come back to the foreign exchange, like the trillions of dollars just every day being traded, right? There's nothing to do with the actual money, the actual wealth in, right? This is just what's been trading now, and I think it's actually less and less, but Bitcoin is going to be integrated into so many new software-based solutions and individuals instead of big shared accounts. So really the basis for the transaction and trades in Bitcoin is way bigger than what this kind of exchange can cover, because it's all centralized and permission based, right? Where Bitcoin with the open source software opens up for anyone to trade any amount of amount, and you literally could be streaming money, right? And this has no future. This whole market literally has no future, and it just puts it in perspective, these numbers that we now are going to repeat, right? So if we repeat what happened from 15 to 16 and say, well, now it went up 62%, right? Which is nothing. And still very sad for anyone who got in 17 and 18, right? Because, oh, but really in life, on the whole scheme of life, let's look back, you know, of these technologies that revolution in our world, how everything just goes quicker and quicker, right? Let's go back to the hunting and gather period, right? I think it took millions of years. We were hunting and gathering. Progress was so fucking slow, right? It took forever to figure out how to start throwing shit and cooking shit, and then we had the agriculture thing, and that was, what was that, just like thousands of years or hundreds of years, I don't know. But the industrial age, right, that's just 100 years, and now we have the computer age, the technical revolution, in information age, call it whatever you like, but it's literally just a few centuries, right? That's all it is. And then this thing is going to be even quicker. It's going to be even quicker, right? So here we had the 69 since 2019, and we say this because we're just copying the data from the last 4 years since 2015. So this is where it gets interesting. I'm not going to use what happened in 2018. Instead, I'm going to use the pattern that we see from the birth of Bitcoin, where we had the first big rise of 10,000, then we had it 7. The next big one was 7, not 10, but 7, and then the next big one was 15, not 7 but 15. So you say the big one goes down, so instead of using exact name numbers, I'm going to use it here for the first one, right? So if it goes up like we did in 2017, just 230%, right? Then we're already up at an incredible 24 around. Just these are just rounded up, rounded down numbers, right? If this pattern repeats itself, just 230, right? Since 2020, and you got to remember how many thousands and thousands of percent rise it has just in the forex market. And this is not going to be in the forex market, this is going to be integrated into all these automated systems and machines. They're going to need to have cryptocurrency to maintain themselves, because that you don't need these accountants and all this stuff. This is literally the cancer of our whole system today, is that we have these deputized assholes in banking. God bless their souls, right? But they are literally taking everything and taking over ownership of everything, right? And so we're going to be set free with cryptocurrency, and there's several reasons for that I can get into in other videos. Let's focus on the price here, because here we go up to an incredible 24,000 by 21, and I think by 2021 we're going to be at least 50, right? But these are reasonable numbers. These are, like, in my head, these are, I cannot imagine how we will vary, how, because let's look at it as periods, because we're investing long term anyway, right? Just the fact I invested back in 13, and I've had to sell my most of my holdings, and that's what I'm living off now. So any donations I would really appreciate. Anyways, yeah, because I thought this is important. You know, I've been in this space, and I thought it's important to just give just a different way of looking at things, right? So let's, instead of 1500% here 2022, let's do something else, right? Let's go all the way down and just say, well, let's say it goes up 300%, right? If it goes up around just 300%, then already in 2022 Bitcoin will be at $90,000. You hear me? And this is if it just goes up 300%. And you see when it done before, right? In 1 year 10,000%, 1 year 7,000%, 1 year 1,500, and this is just, this rise is just from literally just hundreds of people, not many thousands, at least, people just meddling in like hidden forums about Bitcoin, right? And here's where greater developers and geeks and people into money get into it, right? And here's where the general population are just, you know, whatever, right? It don't work, it works. They don't. This is development is happening here. Here it's found, right? It's never been exposed. I guess this is what we're getting at. The next title, the last title. Let's give the title for this future period. That is 19 to 22, right? And this, I think, is a very conservative estimate, because okay, institutional, how do we spell that? Institutional, something like that. Investment. You got to remember, once institutional investment comes in here, it won't leave. And the reason why they're going to succeed is because they can print money. It's your money. They're going to put everything in Bitcoin, 100%. For me, well, of course, I'm no wizard. I can't see the future, but I am in no doubt. This is like I was in no doubt with the mobile phone, with the internet, electrical bicycles. There's a few things that I see where I'm 100%. There's no way this is going to be, because it can't be stopped. And the idea is out there, right? There's some things where the idea is out there, but it can be stopped, right? This cannot be stopped, and it's already out there. There's no way to stop it. You can pretend and you can try as a nation, as whatever, but your resources will go to stopping something or maintaining something that you just day by day, sound money will flow to this. And every time, you know, like institute like Harvard and these universities, everyone, more and more blue collar, or not blue collar, like white collar, I don't know, respected institutions are getting into Bitcoin, and it starts an avalanche effect. And with all the space we have in this, there's no way that this is only going to be 300% in this period here. There's no way. There's no way. And the chance of us, you see how conservative I set this at 4,500? We're at 6,500, boys. When people asked me back in the day what the price would be for 2018, I predicted 2,500 for this date back in 2014 or some shit like that. You gotta think long term. And I'm gonna finish the video here. Remember, you can buy Bitcoin now at let's just put that up, right, boys? Today, 1 Bitcoin is about 6,400 USD, right? So we're looking at this data here, right? And people that don't understand long-term or compound interest, you got to remember Bitcoin is fixed to 21 million, right? People lose them Bitcoin all the time. There's not going to be more as we continue, right? 2023, 2021, right? We continue. Bitcoin is not going to go away. Bitcoin is be here for at least hundreds of years. There's no reason why. It's software, and this is the first time we have a protocol that is the essential of free speech, which money really is. We never had real free speech, and this is what it's all about, boys, which is why you should invest in it. If you understand this, you understand that, let's say you buy it at this price, and then a few months later we hit 4,000, right? Who the fuck cares when you know it's already, you know it's gonna hit 90? Why is it gonna hit 90? Because the system that was introduced after the Second World War is based on an evil banking idea of debt. It's literally a scam where you finance everything through politics, right? You say that whatever it is has to be financed this way, and it releases money out of thin air. That whole process releases money, right? You literally have endless funding. Money is literally just backed by guns and threats of violence. There is no actual fucking value, right? And the biggest army in the world can make that claim, right? So no longer is armies raised by gold, which you run out of. It's now backed by money. This is the only threat we have to a fucking totalitarian world. So I think it's every proper human's what's the word, have an obligation to support and move this ahead by investing in Bitcoin, by making sure, because this is the point, that it's not only in this period here, because this is the question. This period here will show when we get, let's go a little further. Fuck this, guys, let's go even further, right? Because, and we're not going to focus on price for this next period. Right, so we have another period, right? This is the period that will show whether or not the majority of owners are institutional investors are not. This is where the normal sheeps and slaves and whatever terms you use for people that try to not get into anything really and a little scared if you talk about money, freedom, banking, politics, or whatever, right? You got to understand that we're all human. We all have a vote. You don't need to put a cross to do a vote, but anything you put out in your mind, in your society, around you helps push the world forward, right? And it is all in language. Remember, this all started in January 2009. Well, before that actually, but with a white paper, just an idea on paper, like a recipe, right? You might have this and that in your kitchen, but if you know how to put it all together, you get something delicious, right? With the right recipe. And Bitcoin is the best recipe the world has ever seen. And I think we're going to finish this video with the title here. In 2023, is it going to be institutions owning Bitcoin because the weak hand in this period? This is really the question. In this weak period we have now, this incredible fall that I put too low, I think, to 72. You see, when I say the price is going to end in 2019, that would mean the price would have to go down here over the next couple of months, right, all the way fucking down here, which is not going to happen when we see these custody solutions come out. It's just not. I don't think hands are that weak that people need to sell a shitload. I think a lot of holders of Bitcoin are literally rather hold on to their pants than sell Bitcoin because they know. And I think the institutional investors are in a race. These institutional are going to be in a race this period to get in, right? But without making too much attention, because if you make too much attention, you know, the price will just go up. The price will go up so quickly, right? Because there's nothing for sale. There's nothing for sale. You can't just go in and buy a lot of Bitcoin. There's nothing for sale. If you go in and buy a lot of Bitcoin, the price will just blow up, right? But the point is, the money are being devalued, right? The dollar, and so this period we'll see institutional investment plus the collapse of the dollar, right? Not the complete collapse, but the gradual collapse. The dollar has just been collapsing since its creation, 100%. That's what it's all about. An instrument to indebt people. It's a scam, right? And this is where it will, in this period here, it will gradually be, people will become aware of it, and these institutions will be in a race with you and I. This period will decide, when we get to 2013, who will own the future. Right? And what I want to make clear in this video is that right now you have a chance, right? I think what we can say, whatever the price, right? Which could be $1 million fucking dollars or more for one Bitcoin. You gotta realize that easily, like no sweat, and there's no hardware, there's nothing. Why any sane person that even holds just $20 to their name, or just have something old they can sell, why they wouldn't invest in just any amount of Bitcoin with this kind of possibility? This is not like gambling. This is not like investing in a stock. This is freedom. This is revolution. This is technology. This is bringing the humankind to a whole new level, right? Whatever the price, right? Will you be a part of it, right? In 2013, you right? You see this? I think that's what we got to ask ourselves, and why not? It's because times are just ticking away, right? Through all this period, I tell you what, believe me, everyone in my circle from around this period, 2013, 14, I was probably not talking too much about it in this period, just to me missus and probably some people that would listen in a, but here really I started talking about it. So everyone around me would know about it 2014 and 15, right? And it's just been continuing, right? But what it is nobody getting into it. It's been the same thing. I think really here I started talking about and all until fucking 2017. I'm not lying. And this is, think about it. It's like 6 years. For 6 years, people come in at exactly the wrong time, really, right? You could argue, right? But that's where people come in. And that's where everyone wants to talk to you again. Here, nobody wants to listen. People are like, okay, you talked about it now for 1 hour or 2 hours. Can you shut up now, right? And then here something else happened. People were like, okay, that's pretty amazing, but still bullshit, right? And then here, people, when it went up in 2017, people were just, it was just the money, right? That's what I'm getting at. It was a whole new kind of people, because all the people up here, nothing happened, right? There's no new investor in this major crash, right? So since for fucking 7 years, since the beginning till 2016, it was just nerds, right? It was just nerds, and what have you in the dark shades of the dark web or whatever, right? roughly, right? We're all good people. Shout out to all my Bitcoin people, but there was nothing, no new investment for 2 years. A lot of development, a lot of new technology popping up, but I think it was just all old money, you could say, coming from back in the day, right? And so because the new people coming in now were just people looking to make money. They like people that don't know how a browser works, people that don't know about protocol, history of internet, software, or anything like that. They were the kind of people that invested here. They just heard these numbers and they had seen it go up to 1,000. Now it happened again, and it happened before, right? They remember this, and I think a lot of people pretended, they really hated that they missed out of that. In human history, nobody ever heard of this kind of rise of 7,260%. I think most people don't know about the 10,000% rise, but definitely this one everyone missed out on, right? And then all of a sudden they just wanted to be part of it, right? So that's kind of funny. I'm hoping that more people understand technology now. I think because it's not impossible for a non-techie guy to understand what is the blockchain like, and what is software environment like, what is technical analysis. But yeah, in regards to technical analysis, it's all these people on YouTube looking at these charts every day, drawing lines, making conclusions, making price good predictions. Ugh, right? Come on. I mean, you can go to school for that. You can get a job for that. You can start trading. I think that's really what it has. And if you understand the fundamentals, you understand the technology, and you've done your research to which exchanges you want to use, how much money you really want to risk, and all that shit. Hey, if you're an adult, go for it, right? And maybe you have luck, but everyone has their own strategy. That's 100% damn sure. And in regards to the price, nobody fucking knows. But with the right tools, you can make money up or down. But I literally feel like I put my life on what I'm predicting in this paper for you guys. And you see, the period that I've predicted is really just this period, 2019 to 2022. And it's based on roughly a couple of hundred percent rise, right? Which in 4 periods, in a world where to make this happen, we need no infrastructure, we need no hardware, it's all software that will make this happen. So this can happen a lot faster. Remember, already in November, which is fucking now, in a month, we're going to see these custody solutions and back shit, and traditionally prices go up before Christmas and blah blah blah, which also tells me that this lower of 450 Probably not. Probably not. And we've all seen that a jump to 24, this could all change. Instead of this being that, we could add another zero. This could just as easily happen, boys. But whether or not, if you understand this and long term, why would you care? Why would you care? Look at the numbers, right? Look at the number and the future. You got to look at the future. You got to not look at this number and say, oh, I only got $1. If I put $1 in, then it's only going to be a handful of dollars and blah, blah, blah. It's really not about that. In the end of the day, you all hold the prophecy, right? The mark of the beast, right? If you don't have it, you'll be locked out of any trading, public communication, and maybe even living, right? It's all about a vote and an honest vote. And I think if you want to have that in a future, do you expect to still be vigilant and kicking and all that shit in 2023? And let's just continue, right? 2024, and time moves so quick, right? It's not that far away, boys, right? You think that's far away? 2025? It's going to be here in a blink of an eye. And will you have a vote in that future, right? Will you have a vote in that future? Believe me, I got into this with just a few dollars. And the ride here has been so amazing. And the vote, that's what it's all about. The vote is what will count, right? Because you think the dollar in 2025, the dollar will count? You think people will be printing paper or trusting the databases in the banks in 2025? You don't think there'll be smart contracts that are centralized and decentralized and open source that will accommodate any kind of financial transaction investment that you can think of? You can set it up anonymous or not. You can verify or not, right? The security level is up to you from 0 to 1 million, right? Have tools that you can trust 100% nowadays. You got all these tools, right? People, they set up foreign trust funds to hide their money, and they do all kinds of things to accommodate, right? But one thing is for sure, today nothing is safe, nothing can be trusted. Everyone knows this, and that's how it's always been. This will not be the case in the future. The only question will be, will you be a part of it? And the truth is, you can be a part of it for nothing, whatever you want, right? And you go, oh, some people, I've heard these stories before, oh, I bought $50 of Bitcoin and then the fees were $20 and blah, 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 blah. Why are you wasting your time on this shit, right? Why don't you buy shit, right? You buy an ice cream, you buy a pair of shoes, you buy a t-shirt, and you lose money, right? If you buy a car, instantly it's half the value, right? It's not about what exchange you use or how hard it is for you. It's about the trip for you for whenever you get in, which could be 2018, right? Did I write that down? I should have that on the timeline, right? On the timeline, right? Right now, today, the price, today one Bitcoin is about 6,400. Let's have a look, see, right? 6,436, and I look at the price at the bottom of the candles. Higher lows, lesser volume, correlation from these lower highs all indicate to me, with the knowledge that what's going to happen on the stock exchanges, the inevitable flee of fiat money means that I do not see that the price will go down and this pattern will exceed. I already now would bet that the data I put up here is wrong, but I think in the average scheme of things, like predicting 90,000 in 2022 is fair, 100%. But what I wanted you to focus on really was just the greater scheme of things. Remember, it's software. Remember what's really happening. Remember how much room, how much thousands and % room there is just to cover the daily forex market. Imagine how much else needs to be backed by this value, how much will be lost, how much will be put in custody, and all will contribute to that these small conservative rise estimates I've done in price for this next period of 4 years, I think is way too conservative. But really the question is, what kind of vote will you have in this future? Remember, one Bitcoin can be split up 1,000,000 times, right? So really it's about being able to validate something. And when you invest in Bitcoin, it, you know, I think it's not about the price that where everyone got into it. It's about, I mean, if you're a true Bitcoin, it's because you understand the kind of people we got to get rid of, the opportunities in this world we got to be rid of, right? It's stupid to, it's like we have all our beautiful, most treasured food and valuable and sleeping quarters carried around in a garbage bag full of holes, right? And then we let all the rats just fester of it. And of course we're going to get more rats, right? It's our choice. We've done it voluntarily. I'm not blaming anyone, but we just have technology now. And who will own the future? Will you have a vote here or not? I think that's the decision you got to make today. Do you want to gamble in 2019 that you could get it for this price, 4,500, which I don't think will happen? There's a much bigger chance that we'll get way quicker to 24,000 than 21, and way quicker to these numbers, like, and $1,000,000, right? Because it's going to be an avalanche once they start making the decisions. But when it will happen, sure, you can say, fuck, it could happen in 2025, 2030, 2040. Oh my word, there could be so many stupid things happen that just make everything go so slow, right? I'm a software developer. Believe me, I know. I've worked on the same fucking software like for 20 years. For 15 years, I've worked on a specific piece of software released, always updating, always trying to make it better, but the same kind of thing, right? And you can go on and on and on. It never stops, right? And the same with issues in politics and whatnot. So imagining something can move slow, right? But as a developer, I'll give you the facts right here, right? It might be placed wrong. Everything might be wrong here. Let me know what your opinion is, but there was one problem, the scaling solution, and the solution has already been found. This was found in a period of 2 years. If you ask me, the solution was already here in the white paper, right? It don't matter, right? It's coming. The only question is, who will own the future? Will you have a vote, or will you let institutional investors, which are the robots, right? Which are the robots. That's what it is, right? So either the robots own some, because they take over everything in this short period. That's my prediction. Or you get into it with whatever you have, right? And yeah, I'm just gonna put it out here, and yeah, don't get angry if I'm wrong, because I might be. I don't think I am, but I might be. But let's pop bottles when we do, right? And like I said, leave a little tip. This is how I make a living, I guess, doing this YouTube shit. And I'm not making a living, boys. I want to be decentralized. Thanks for watching. I'm out.